Hey guys, and welcome back to another Lost Bits video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where we explore the unused, altered, and unseen content in video games. Now, despite being a big fan of rhythm games, until making this video, I never really got into this series. And until recently, outside of making an appearance in Sony's version of Super Smash Bros., I haven't been hearing too much about the Parappa the Rapper series. Now, I have a suspicion that it might be trending due to a certain rhythm game that may have taken some inspiration from Parappa, but either way, not a bad time to check out these wacky PlayStation games on the show. You guys have been absolutely killing it with the likes on the last few Lost Bits videos, so again, if you do enjoy the video, consider letting me and the YouTube algorithm know with a like down below, and subscribe to find your way back for future videos. Anyways, it's time to take some fighting lessons from some weird onion guy, and find some lost bits. Alright, so first up, before we get to the games themselves, we can see how Parappa himself was altered from an early concept sketch. Although the design is generally the same, and the animal choice wasn't changed like a certain other PlayStation 1 mascot, the only real differences seen here are the large letter P on Parappa's shirt, as well as him wearing a backwards hat rather than his signature toque or beanie as seen in his final design. Also, the final design opted for much more of a square head shape instead of the round one seen here. Now on to the original Parappa the Rapper for the PS1. Aside from basic regional differences like on the title screen between the Japanese and other releases, a more prominent alteration can be seen on the loading screen between the versions. So, in the original Japanese release, the loading screen has the message saying a moment, asking for the player's patience. Here this message was seen using solid dark purple blocks to block out some of the character faces in the background. Then, in the European regional revision, the opacity of these blocks was reduced, which made the underlying faces easier to see. Then finally, since "a moment please" isn't really the type of lexicon used in North America, this message was changed to read "hold on" instead. Next up, we also got a few graphics that go unused. First are a set of graphics for Cheep Cheep, the cooking chicken meant for Stage 4. These include her with her beak open, closed, as well as her facing away from the player. Then for Stage 5, there's this H texture listed as hot_H. Now this is the texture that's used on the hot gas rotating sign, so although it can be seen during the pre-rendered cutscene before the stage, this texture is never normally seen during actual gameplay. Also unused is this arrow-looking graphic listed as Entotu or Entatu. Now I tried to find out if Entotu meant something in Japanese, and apparently it's very close to Entotsu, which translates to smokestack or chimney in English. And I guess if this was meant to be seen vertically, it absolutely could have been a chimney to be used on the gas station, an adjacent building, or just somewhere else in the background. Then for Stage 6, found amongst the other graphics for the stage are these character sprites of Joe Chin, as well as this unnamed audience member. Now again, both of these characters are seen in the pre-rendered club cutscene leading up to the stage, just like the H graphic earlier, and these aren't actually ever seen or used in gameplay in the stage, like the other stage graphics around them. So based on this, it's likely that these characters were once planned to appear during gameplay, but whether it was just in the audience or in a larger role on the stage is still unclear. And lastly for the graphics are a set of them that are believed to have been meant for an also scrapped stage. So in the files of the game is a folder named S8, and this folder contains data for an unused scene which apparently was to take place after Stage 6 on the game's cool mode. Named Stage 8 based on the name of the folder by fans, this unused scene would apparently see the player take control of Parappa during the Somebody Say Ho segment. This actually was a feature that was implemented in Parappa the Rapper 2, where you do get to control Parappa after the final stage if you complete it on cool mode in the same way. So although it was re-implemented in the sequel, it, for whatever reason, never ended up being used in the original. And although this is referred to as Stage 8, this doesn't necessarily imply the existence of an also scrapped Stage 7. Anyways, back to the unused set of graphics. These are of PJ Barry facing both towards and away from the camera, as well as a set of different eye and mouth textures. Now, besides the pre-rendered cutscenes, PJ is only seen during gameplay in Stage 6. So the existence of his graphics outside of Stage 6 and Stage 8 being related to Stage 6 have some believing he was meant to also be seen in that scrapped ending sequence where these graphics were to be used. And last up for Parappa 1 are some unused audio files. First is a cleaner, unused version of Parappa saying oops when he messes up. Oops. Basically, due to the PlayStation's audio, the lower quality one ended up being used. Here's a comparison of the two. Thankfully, the higher quality unused one would go on to be used in Parappa 2 as well as the PS4 port of the game. Then secondly, for the unused audio, there's an alternate unused, bad, or awful ending for stage 2. The biggest difference here is in the lyrics. The unused version goes, "That's because you gotta do it again," and for whatever reason this was changed to just, "You gotta do it again" in the file that is used. Here is a comparison again of both tracks back to back.
That's because you gotta do it again. No, while we stop the car, you gotta do it again. What?
And with that, now let's move on to the PS2 sequel, Parappa the Rapper 2. And first off, let's talk about a pre-release prototype build of the game that interestingly was actually included in a Japanese McDonald's promo disc. This demo disc was distributed about 3 months before the initial Japanese release of the game. Although it only contains the first level, it still has quite a few differences. Being a McDonald's promo, it's no surprise that many references to McDonald's were removed in the final game. Stuff like McDonald's version being written on the title screen in Japanese, the store being covered in McDonald's banners, and Beard Burger Master's prompt icon and apron are also both loving it.
You gotta love the McDonald's propaganda here. Don't they know that advertising like that? It never works.
But the golden arches aside, this demo also has a few less corporate sanctioned changes. Namely, the heads-up display here is quite different, from the meters on the bottom being different colors and just more polished in the final. The bubble thing at the top is a slightly different shape, and the rating meter here just looks much gooder in the final. And lastly, the sound effects for either completing or failing a verse are also different here from the final version. Here is a comparison. Anyways, now moving on to the final release of Parappa 2, it too has some regional alterations which put those of its predecessors to shame. Firstly, although Parappa 1's title screen differences were pretty minor, here, each regional title screen is quite different. The Japanese one just features Parappa and the game's logo. The North American one features a completely yellow logo with much more of the cast in the background. And finally, the European title screen is once again different, with a title screen graphic more akin to the Japanese one. We got different placement of the game's characters and a much bigger emphasis on Parappa's toque or beanie because, yeah, just because. Also, some lyrics in the game had to be changed for the North American release. These changes include changing references to alcohol as well as potential religious references. And strangely enough, although the lyrics in the song were altered in the North American version, I guess someone forgot to change the subtitles during the actual song.
I am the man, you all know my name now. I got all cash money and fame.
Next up, Parappa 2 also has a few graphics that go unused. First are these graphics of Colonel Noodle showing off power mad and embarrassed emotions seen in the official strategy guide for the game. Now apparently these can also be found unused in the game's files and can only be seen via hacking. Next up is this graphic of a font likely used for debugging, and lastly there is an early unused model of Boxy Boy here. This one appears to more so resemble how he appeared in Parappa 1. Definitely looks pretty creepy without the textures though. Now I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we haven't covered any unused text strings for quite a while, but thankfully this game's got us covered with a bunch of normally unseen debug messages. These messages include highlights like tap group pindex over, tap set POS is over, CD search error, and come on Parappa. It seems like whoever typed these definitely enjoys using exclamation marks. And last up, just like Parappa 1, this game also has some unused audio files. First is an unused line from Boxy Boy believed to have been associated with the practice sessions.
Okay, let's try the next one.
Then next are some short clips all believed to have been intended for either an alternate intro for the game or perhaps alternate music for the loading screens. And finally and lastly are some unused background loops for the bad and awful versions of Stage 8's tracks in the game's versus mode. This part is sort of confusing, but stay with me here, hopefully I'm getting this right. Now normally in the battle mode, during Boxy Boy's intro segment, the awful version of the upcoming song will play in the background. But the background song used for Boxy Boy's preamble here is different than the awful track that is used. And outside of this intro segment, this version isn't heard anywhere else. I'll give you guys a quick comparison of the two.
Welcome to the battle mode. The rules are simple. I'll give you a phrase to play, so player 1, try to play better than I did. Then player 2, you have to try and do better than what player 1 did. We'll do a few of those and that'll be the first round.
Also, there are 2 unused versus background music loops for Stage 8's bad version. Here's a comparison of those. Although the signature ahs are similar, overall, the tracks have quite a lot of differences. It's really cool to see this game get a new wave of fans from the success of Friday Night Funkin', so who knows, maybe Sony will even consider publishing another sequel. But until that happens, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out some more of my Lost Bits videos, and as always, thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I will see you in a bit.